Peace, peace. You know what it is. It's your man SKYZOO Skyzoo, live out the borough. And this is the NBA Exchange with my man Dexter Henry. You know how you doing it, man. Log on, tap in. Let's get into it.
What's good, basketball fans? It's your guy Dexter Henry here with the NBA Exchange, back with you another Wednesday, which means you know what time it is. NBA with nuance. 2 playoff games last night. It's been nice. We've been getting a couple every other night. One game was not competitive. The other game, very entertaining. Stayed up a little bit late to watch that, but it was worth it. So I can't complain on that one. And see, last Wednesday, I was in a really good mood. Coming off my birthday, was feeling relaxed, feeling good. Don't get worried. This Wednesday, I'm still in a good mood. And you know why I'm in a good mood? It's not just because Jarod Hector is going to be joining me, my man from True Hoop. It's also, this is what I got to talk to Jarod about. Jarod should know why I'm in a good mood. Jarod, Liverpool won yesterday. They are in the Champions League finals. Okay? Champions League, you don't know nothing about that.
No, chill.
It's excellence over here.
Chill.
Liverpool in the final, and we're coming to take this. We might have 4 trophies this year. We'll see what's popping with that. We got a shot at it.
Listen. I know plenty about Champions League finals. Okay, plenty of the teams that I've rooted for have won plenty of Champions League finals over the years.
Did you hear that, folks? Did you hear that?
That's right.
The teams he's rooted for.
That's right. Because
jumped from
player
to player.
Correct. I told you this story before. My aunt, shout out to my aunt. She is the best because every playoffs I ask her, "Yo, what's up with your teams?" She's like, "You know how I do. Whoever's winning the title, that's who I roll with." I'm like,
she's like, I'm rolling with winners here.
And so, guess what? Every June, she's happy. She don't be sad in the summertime, worrying about, oh, my teammate this. She winning, so she knows. She's like, hey, I'm moving. And it was the Jordan years in the 90s. She moved on to Kobe and Shaq. Then she went to Duncan and she went to LeBron. She goes where the winners are. And I'm like, listen, I respect your hustle because you know what? You're not mad at the end of, so I'm not gonna be mad. So it's all good.
I mean, but you ain't got no winners in the Champions League finals, so you could be mad.
I mean, I could, right? I could be mad.
But not saying you should live your life like that, but you got me.
but as I said to you, I was like, everyone knows I'm a CR7 guy. He's gonna retire at some point. So I mean, I might roll back to Real Madrid, especially if we get Mbappe this summer.
Wait, hold on. Well, I'm just saying, if you with the winners, why don't you just come to Liverpool? And if you're really about that life, why don't you just come bring some of that energy over here? That's all I'm saying.
All right. I mean, I might rock with y'all. For a season. We'll see what's up.
Let's find out what his bias is against Liverpool. We'll have to discuss that another time. We'll have to discuss. It doesn't matter. Gerard's not gonna bring me down. I'm in a good mood. How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. But shout out to Liverpool, seriously though. They've had a hell of a run the last few years here. Yeah. Probably the best club team in the world the last few years, I'd say. So shout out to Liverpool, man. They're doing the thing.
All right, there we go. See, Gerard could be nice and give people love. Unlike our boy Brian Fonseca, who will never do that unless you give love to the Heat. He won't do that at all. All right, but we got some good stuff to talk about today. The games last night, interesting. The Celtics, they bounced back in a major way, destroying the Milwaukee Bucks at home. I didn't see this coming.
Neither did I.
I watched a bit of the betting show you and Jenna did yesterday. Our homie Jenna Lemoncelli. I watched some of that, and I think you were like take the Bucks, and I was with you on that too. That wasn't right. Gerard did win you money elsewhere, in case you were wondering. But were you surprised at how much of a beatdown this was? Because I was.
I kind of was. And look, it wasn't so much because of the Celtics defense. Like, I know their defense is excellent. I guess I was more surprised at how good they were offensively at carving up what the Bucks were doing, and they shot it extremely well from 3. Look, we know that Budenholzers are going to give you that. They're going to give you threes. That's what their defense allows. And their thing is, Boston, you are 36% shooting 3-point team. We'll live with that. Well, they shot better than 36% last night. And that hurt them. Brown in particular, and this is the playoffs. I mean, you don't overreact over one game. But I mean, I would say he went like 9 for 10 his first 10 shots. I'd say like, I don't know, least 5 of those shots were tough contests with hand hit them anyway. And it's like, yo, sometimes that shit happens, like, and you're gonna lose, And so again, this is not to take away from what the Celtics did. They played extremely excellent defense again, and they executed on offense. They moved the ball. I thought, Dexter, there were moments in that game where it looked like the Celtics were playing 6-on-5 on the floor. I'm like, damn, why do you seem like they always got somebody wide open? And it was the ball movement, man. They were excellent at that last night.
They were excellent moving the ball. Jaylen Brown was cooking in the first quarter. They looked really good last night, and it's a series once again. And this is why Brian always says you can't overreact to game one. Crazy shit happens in game one. He is right about that. But it's a series again. And again, I'm not going to jump off the ledge here and say Milwaukee's out of it, because I think they can bring some of that physicality and regroup, especially at home. Their role players didn't play good last night, as I think you might have expected there. So, we'll see about that. We were wrong on that. I thought it could be a nice upset for the road.
Yeah.
Well, the teams that were down, I thought the underdogs would win last night. I tried a little parlay with that. That did not go well for me. But yeah, that was that. Now the Grizzlies, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I thought that the Marcus Smart injury would hurt Boston more than it did.
Yeah.
And it didn't. They were, and Grant Williams, man, that dude, he's built like a fire hydrant, man. Like, he's just like, you ain't moving him. He's shooting seemed like 45%, 50% on corner three. I mean, it's just like, all right, well, they're doing that. They're going to be real hard to beat.
Yeah, he's shooting, like you said, 45% on corner threes, 40%, I think, overall on threes. He's been good. And I think people have been waiting like, oh, when's the shooting for Grant Williams coming down?
It ain't.
It's not. It's not.
It don't look like it is.
It's not. It looks good. Celtics fans, Celtics Nation, they're hyped again. Okay, you're Grizzlies. They won us some money, but I wasn't happy with one of your players. I wasn't happy with Mr. Triple J. He got off to a good start in this game, so I don't want to kill him. And then he got foul trouble, and then he couldn't hit any shots. And I took this prop. It was Triple J, 15 or more points, and the Grizzlies win. And it was like, I don't know, it was plus 265 or something. Yeah. Pretty nice. Then I also took Triple J for a double-double. And he finished with 12 and 7. Yeah. I was asking for too much with the rebounds.
The rebounds are, because had he stayed on the floor, he'd been fine, especially in this series. Look,
I think this series is a good matchup for him to play well.
It is. It's just, look, the numbers say it. When Tripp is on the floor, the Warriors do not score at the rim, and the Grizzlies are excellent. When he is off the floor, it's a different story. And listen, this is the next evolution in his development as a player. Remember, he's only 22 years old. He's super young. He's younger than John Morant, actually, believe it or not. This is what we saw in game one. That is what I believe the ceiling on him is. An elite defender who can also give you 30 points a night if needed, right? I think a 20-something point per game score defense, right? That's the whole Tim Duncan 2.0 thing I was talking about, right? The modern day stretch 5 or stretch 4. But these fouls, and it's the ones that drive me nuts, Dexter, are the silly ticky-tack. It's like, Doug, you already got 2. Why are you putting yourself in this scenario and situation to get this one? On the 6th one, Draymond 100% baited him into that one, but I will also call out John Morant. When that back pick was there, you got to yell out, yo, back pick, to allow him to either circumvent, move around, whatever, to not run into Draymond Green on that one. But be that as it may, he is foul prone.
He is. Now, it's funny. You brought up the fact about his rim protection and how you even saw where he was able to play a lot of minutes in game one. He gets off the floor in game two. I think if you kind of look at it in this game and tell me if I'm wrong, we can laud how John Morant played in this contest, 45 points, playoff career high, hit some big three-pointers, and I thought actually took some smart ones when he was given the space down the stretch. But no Triple J on the floor for stretches. You talk about it after he picked up his 6th foul, and the Warriors were getting to the rim. You saw Steph with some great finishes, Jordan Poole with some great finishes there. They still were able to get to the rim, and you now maybe you wonder if you're a Grizzlies fan, hey, Triple J's on the floor a little bit more. Maybe this is a 8-10-point win. Maybe maybe this isn't so close down the stretch. What did you take else from this Grizzlies win? I mean, it's a good win for the Grizzlies. They're back in the series. But any other takeaways from this one?
Oh, this is a tough team, Dexter. All year they've bounced back from losses. And I said, look, this is the maturation process for this team. The Warriors are the better squad, right? Like you can see that. I know the Grizzlies' record was better, but the Warriors missed Steph and Draymond for large chunks towards the end of the season, and that hurt them down the line. Now, Grizzlies don't need to apologize for that. They missed Ja Morant and they went 20-2 in those games. So is what it is, right? But the championship know-how of the Warriors that we talked about and that corporate knowledge is something that's tough to overcome. But what I love about this team is they battle, right? It's easy to, when the Warriors go on a run, they go up 8-9 to be like, right, and hang your head. But they're dogs, man. He's like, nah, we next possession. And Ja embodies that, right? I mean, you see it. He said it after game one. They can't guard me, right? Like, he just and he has that level of confidence and fire that breeds spirit to the rest of the team. And I think that this squad is excellent. I think they adjust well. I think Taylor Jenkins is doing some interesting things. This is all part and parcel for them. Reference points. We talk about all the time. Guys like Chris Paul, Steph Curry, and all these experienced playoff veterans, Dexter, David Thorpe, and I like to say they're supercomputers, right? Because they have so many reference points they can access in their computer brains to analyze every situation. Well, Ja and these guys, they ain't supercomputers yet. They don't have that many reference points to go to. So these are all reference points and building blocks for them.
Yeah, and I think last night is a great building block for them, even if they go on to not win the series. I know you and I both predict them to lose in 6, but it's a great learning point. Even their fight, because they lost the lead, they came back, they still were able to execute it out. But also learning, you're right, learning from the Warriors that they don't ever give up. And I thought even the Warriors, they fought through. They had some moments where they didn't look good, but they fought through. And I'm really intrigued to see what this is like going back to the Bay. Now, to me, if the Grizzlies can go get one in the Bay and we come back and this is a best-of-3 series, which is what I would like for this series, and I would like for the Grizzlies because that means they get to play big-time Game 5 at home and potentially a big-time Game 6 on the road, no matter how that Game 5 goes. I want to see that for that team. I think being in that kind of situation, people are going to say, oh, well, they had the Game 5 and at home against Minnesota.
Right.
Different level of competition here.
No doubt.
Okay.
No doubt.
Different level of competition. We'll see how they do against that. And it's a good test for this young team. So I'm excited to see, but we need Triple J. We need stay on the floor, bro. Stay on the floor, please. Stay on the floor. All right. We want to talk today. Jarod brought up the fact that depth, bench play in the playoffs, along with rotations. This is something I kind of touched upon with Brian with the Heat. I think it's very important to have it. But Jarod, you've been watching basketball for a long time, just like me. What's the thing you used to hear a lot growing up around basketball? Oh, well, tight rotations in the playoffs, right? You're only going to play 7-8 deep. And I remember, I'll credit my dad. My dad always used to be like, why? Like, why are we doing that? Why not play more people? Why not have people have more opportunities? But people are always going to say, well, you want to play your best players. That's the other argument. And this is why you want to tighten the rotations. We'll get to the rotations in a sec. But how important is it to have depth in the playoffs, right? Or establishing that depth before you get to the playoffs, which is something you were talking about all year long with the Brooklyn Nets and playing some young guys and getting them ready. What good is the depth if you ain't going to use it when it matters, right? We can say how important it is, but what good is it if you don't use it when it matters? So how important is it at this time of the year, particularly later in the playoffs in the second round and beyond?
It's huge. I mean, this is how you build teams, right? And again, shout out to your dad. Shout out to Coach Thorpe. We talk about this all the time. Why should you only play 7 guys? Now, I know why. It's because the incentives that we have designed around this are wrong. And when I say incentives, I mean is this. If a team loses in the playoffs and the best player on the team only plays 30-something minutes, he's going to get killed in the media and on talk radio and on the news the next day about, well, why didn't so-and-so play 48 minutes? Right? Because we have this weirdo hero complex in this country when we think about sports is, well, you go down swinging with your best guy. And there is something to that. But, these dudes are human. 48 playoff minutes is a lot of basketball. We saw we saw that last season, Dex, with the Brooklyn Nets, right? What did everybody say coming out of that series? Oh, man, Kevin Durant did his thing. Notice who got the skate in that playoff series. Steve Nash. Why? Because, he went down swinging with his best guy. He played 48 minutes the last 3 games. He was down. Okay, but maybe it could have been better if you did something a little bit differently. And the Miami Heat and the Memphis Grizzlies and teams like that play. I mean, the Grizzlies, Zaire Williams didn't play at all in game 1 because it's back in game 2 because that's what Taylor Jenkins has done all season long. It's this idea too, Dexter, right? And I know it's different and we all know it's different and the players know it's different. But when you start changing things and making it, because the players, we got to do something. No, well, if it's been working for you here, just carry it over. Of course, your attention to detail and all that needs to be at a higher level. But if we're used to going 10 deep, why are we stopping going 10 deep now?
Right.
Like, yeah, identify matchups and do whatever you need to do. But this is what happens. The other reason why depth is important, Dexter, and playing these guys all year matters. Injuries are going to happen. We know that. We see it already. And when you have guys get injured and they're not used to stepping into playing, all of a sudden you say, hey, I know you haven't played all season long, but now I need you to play 25 minutes in the most high leverage game of the entire season. What do you think is going to happen? Nothing good for you. Like, I mean.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? I'm glad you brought up Zaire Williams, because I watched him play last night and I was like, my reaction was like, oh shit, Taylor Jenkins is playing him. And not to the point that he had been doing it all year. Mm-hmm. And you're right, Taylor Jenkins has been doing this all year. And I'm glad you brought up Taylor Jenkins too, because he has shown me already through 2 playoff series in this playoff run that he is willing to mix and match and adapt his lineup. And I do want to actually talk about the adaptability in this that a lot of coaches don't seem to do. And I think the reason I'm shocked at it, or my initial feeling was shock, is that this isn't what we've seen all along, as I've talked about. Coaches have stuck to this. Coaches are not generally willing to do what Taylor Jenkins does. Or we can even go to the other side. Steve Kerr has done. He starts Gary Payton in game 1. Gary Payton is in game 1, right? And says, hey, I need to get a defensive guy on the floor out here and switch things up in a certain way. That he's willing to do that. We'll hold on to that and get to that, because I just think you get used to seeing something so much and you're just like, oh wow, people are actually doing what they should do and think outside the box. That is nice. But which teams, is it the Grizzlies? Brian, I brought up the Heat. Which teams do you think have the strongest benches right now? Because they go deep into their bench and can do this in the playoffs.
I think the Grizzlies, I think the Heat, these are all strong bench teams. I also like Phoenix because again, they run deep in their bench. You get big minutes from their reserves. I also like the optionality that Golden State has. Now, Kerr probably doesn't play Kuminga enough. And as someone who's rooting for the Grizzlies, that's fine by me. Please don't play Kuminga. I'm cool with that. But it's, Dexter, part of it for you too is that, you got PTSD. Your head coach is Tom Thibodeau, who ain't never trying to play no rookies or young kids. And here's the problem in the playoffs. And Taylor Jenkins said this after the game last night. The best learning reference for rookies and our young guys is playing time. Coach Thorpe says it all the time on Troop. Shout out to Coach Thorpe. Playing time. You can drill as much as you want to, but live game action and those reference points to go back to it are huge. Now, of course, your fear is they're going to fuck up and make a mistake. Actually, they will. Like, it's going to happen. They're going to make mistakes. Shit, veterans make mistakes all the time. It's not just rookies and young guys. Everyone makes mistakes. But the idea is, and we talk about royal jelly, there has to be an environment where you are free and comfortable to make mistakes once you learn, because then it's not going to stop you from trying and doing what is necessary to be good. Look, the Grizzlies likely are not going to win a championship this year because they're just not ready. But I bet these reference points for Zaire Williams, Xavier Tillman, and Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Morant, 2 years from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, guess what? I bet you all these lumps are taken now will matter then.
I also think you brought up another good point in terms of you have to have that culture, right? We talked about the royal jelly. You have to have that culture around. If you're a coach and you're like, man, I got to win and I got to get all these wins because if I don't, I'm going to get canned, I'm going to get fired. And I get that. That pressure is real. We're not saying that pressure is real. But if you have a culture, I think what Jarod is talking about, that then fosters an environment where you don't necessarily have to worry about that. Not worry about it all, but not worry about it as much, because the people here are about letting you grow. As we know, and Jarod talks about with the royal jelly, it's written about, most cultures, companies, organizations, even outside of basketball, do not allow for that. Think about where you work and ask yourself, does that place really let you grow? Think about some of the other places you've worked. Has that place let you grow? I've worked at some of these places, terrible organizations, and this is why they are where they are. Now, we talked about the teams that are good, but there's teams that ain't got no depth. They got no bench. And it's a concern. And if we can laud the teams that we talked about and how well it bodes for them in second round and beyond, what about the teams that are here that it's they probably can't really go further because they don't have the depth? Any teams that concern you right now in the second round that just don't have that depth, Jarod.
I mean, obviously, Philly and Dallas come to mind immediately,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Jesus. I mean, look, and again, they're missing Joel Embiid, so I get that. But yo, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, Cork Moss getting dusted off the bench, off the shelf. I mean, it's problematic. But this is the problem again, Dexter. When you go to a top-heavy system with maximum, and look, you need max guys to win. Everyone knows that. You're not winning a championship without max guys. That's just the reality of the situation. But if you look at a team like Golden State, for example, right? So Steph is a max guy. Clay is a max guy. Draymond, not a max guy, right? And they had some luck in there where they got injured. They were able to get a guy like Jordan Poole, 28th in the draft. He is playing like a $25, $30 million a year player, but they ain't paying him that much. You look at the Phoenix Suns. They got two max guys, right? In Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. Mikal Bridges, 4 years, $90 million. He's an elite two-way player. You see, the team building, yes, stars matter, but so too does depth, right? And I think we're seeing a situation, Dexter, where, because again, and not to keep banging on the Brooklyn Nets, but when you have three max guys, right, and that eats up 99% of your salary, that means you got a little bit of money left to fill out roster spots 12 through 15. Well, you can't do a whole lot then, right? I mean, it just doesn't. And so if anything happens to one of those dudes, like it did, or they don't want to show up to work, well, you know.
Yeah. But you know what the thing about that, Jarod, is because you and I have been talking about this for almost a year of doing this show, and we've talked about it in other conversations. And now I'm starting to wonder, particularly going into this offseason, particularly what happened with the Brooklyn Nets, particularly what we're talking about here where we're watching teams in the playoffs. Okay, are people starting to realize this? Is the league starting to catch up this? Or is it what you always bring up too? It's like only the good organizations are seeing this. How is this not now? It feels like it's right there.
Yeah.
It feels like it's there for you to see and be like, okay, everybody should get on this wave.
It's all in front of your face, Dexter, but the incentives and the organizations are not structured correctly. Look at it. Look at an organization like Sacramento. They're going on there like what, fifth head coach, third front office. It's like, yo. And when those things don't align, everybody's worried about just keeping their job. So that means we're going to do quick Band-Aid fixes. Meanwhile, we got holes all over this dam, but we're putting Band-Aids on it because that's all we can do because I'm trying not to get fired. But those teams we talked about, Miami, the culture, #Heat culture, shout out to Brian Fonseca. But Spo is the guy, right? Andy Ellsberg and Pat Riley, that's the brain trust. They ain't moving off that. So we're going to do what we do, and you're either going to fit in or we're going to find people that do. In Golden State, right? Bob Myers, this is how we do things here. You ain't going to roll like that? We'll see you later. Memphis, that's what it's Zach Kleiman, Taylor Jenkins. This is our organizational ethos. The San Antonio Spurs for all those years. When you have stability, you say, no, this is how we do things. And we're going to find players that fit and want to do that. If you don't want to roll that way, well, you can go somewhere else. And the thing is, no one in those places is looking over their shoulders worried about, am I going to have a job? Am I going to have a job? Am I going to have a job? When that's your mindset, you ain't got no time to think about no culture and royal jelly and all things you need to win. You're just out here like, damn, I hope I don't get fired tomorrow. And
it's self-preservation. That's what it ends up all being about, the self-preservation there. So I think we've kind of answered this next question. I know how you and I feel about this, but are shorter or longer rotations better for teams in the postseason? Because you'll always have the school of thought, well, it's like play your best players, play your 7, 8 best players. But you're saying, hey, if you play a little bit more, maybe if you stretch it out to 9, if you stretch it out to 10, maybe players are more refreshed. I mean, let's not even get to the rest thing that people seem to have thought out of too. So what's better? Because people will push back on the other end, Jarod, and say, nah, man, but you got to have your best players out there as much as you can in these critical minutes in the postseason. What do you say to that, and which one is better?
I think longer rotations are better, again, because it gives your other players reference points and opportunities to play where you learn best by playing and doing. So you have these moments you can go back to. Remember in game 3 when I lost Steph on that back cut and next time, oh no, I know what they're doing here. I'm not going to make that mistake. It is so much, and it preserves your players, right? Listen, I get it. Everybody loves the idea of 48 minutes, warrior, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, do you want to do that? I'm going to go back to last year's playoffs again, Dexter, and this ties into the longer postseason. And this is something interesting. Coach Thorpe and actually Henry said, what if the Nets did this? So when the Nets won game 5 and Durant was sensational. I think he played 40 whatever minutes. Well, I think he played the entire game. Henry was like, that's a lot of minutes Durant played. You're probably losing game 6 anyway. Why don't you just sit him in game 6, get that extra day of rest, come back game 7, get a fresher Durant for game 7. Maybe a fresher Durant knows where his foot is. Everyone's like, oh, the foot. You know where that foot was there? He was dog tired. Kevin Durant knows where every inch of the floor is and where he's supposed to be. That was exhaustion, right? That's what that was. A little fresher Durant. Is he perhaps an inch or two behind that line? Probably, right? Is he more springy? Is he whatever? You have to think about the long game, right? These aren't robots. They don't just come out here and they can just put them 48 minutes. And they just do whatever. It is so important. And one day a coach is going to be smart enough. And again, it ties back into the organization. He's going to have the backing of the organization that no matter what talk radio and the media say about, oh, I can't believe you did X, Y, and Z, it's fine. He ain't losing his job. Some team is going to do that. And then people are going to realize, wow, that's actually smart. And smart way to do it. It's like, yeah, well, more players.
That's interesting regarding last year, Game 5 against the Bucks. Because I was in the building for that, as you were too.
As was I. Yep.
We both were in the building for that, and I remember at some point in that game being like, "Damn, Durant's not going to bench." And what he only sat for a minute and 30 seconds.
Maybe,
he played
yeah.
47 or 46 and a half minutes in that game
on both ends too. He was incredible that game.
And to your point, there's a toll to that, right? Particularly when you had a team like they did, which was literally trying to do this all around one superstar. I know James Harden was there. He was hobbled, and he's never been the same. Mm-hmm. We know that. But, yes, maybe saying, hey, rest it. The problem is people in the media, and you're right, are going to be like, oh, well, you ain't even trying to win game 6. You're out here just throwing the game. You know what I mean? Instead of, like you said, well, we're trying to optimize the best way we can and play.
Because you're likely going to lose game 6 anyway. Like, you got to play the odds. Odds are you're going to lose game 6 anyway. Like, so,
the league isn't going to want it, and they aren't going to like it.
Of course not.
People get injured and sit out all the time. I think people will get over it, and it'll be fine. Here's my other thing with that, right? So we can talk. I'm with you. I think the longer rotations are better in the postseason, but flexibility matters too here, and coaches can have longer rotations and can be rigid in those longer rotations, or they can have shorter rotations and still be rigid in those rotations. So the value, I think, is also within coaches saying, okay, I can change this. I can do this. Look at the Memphis Grizzlies. First round, Steven Adams does not play because it's a horrible matchup for him and the Grizzlies going up against Karl Anthony Towns and having him guard. They needed to be quicker. So you saw Xavier Tillman play. You see Triple J getting some minutes at center and also playing at the 4. You see the same thing in this round with the flexibility. We talked about Zaire Williams as well. It's one thing to lengthen your rotation. It's another thing for coaches to have, and I hate to put it this way, you have to have the guts because of all the stuff you mentioned before to actually have flexibility within that. Do you think we're trending more to that way where coaches are saying, okay, we have to, or is it still just a select few on this end as well too?
Yeah, I think it's limited. I think it's a select few coaches who aren't worried about job security. Look, what do the playoffs do? I always say this. It highlights your weakness, right? And everyone hunts for your weakness in the playoffs, right? When there's certain guys on the floor, it's, oh no, let's get that guy. We're trying to get onto him, right? I mean, with John Morant, when they're trying to, can we get him on to Steph? Can we get him on the Jordan Poole, right? Like, whoever's on the floor that is that weak link defensively, that's who they want to screen him onto. So coaches, are only limited in what they can do, right? Because some guys just, they're problems for you. However, if you work on player development, right, which is a huge part of this, and organizationally, if that's part of your culture, you will teach guys to be better defenders. Look, so much about defense is about effort, right? Because I'm picking on that side of the ball because that's where people hunt. You got to have good technique and have good scheme. But you got to just want to, right? Like some people, you got to just want to give a crap on that end of the floor. And, I hit on Steph on that one. But, in game 1, Steph had those 2 clean strips on John Morant late in that game, right? Like Steph competes and he's not a negative defender. He is a plus defender. Now, in certain lineups, he may be the weakest of their defenders, but he's no turnstile, right? Just give an effort, man. And so I think for coaches, that's the other piece of it, right? Have your guys have that instilled in them when they know to give the requisite effort and what is necessary. And again, that goes back to culture. That's what we talked about, right? It's got to start from the top and from your best guys.
It's going to be very interesting to me to see if cultures change, if more people finally awaken to this and say, hey, this is working for Memphis. This has worked for Miami. We've seen it work in San Antonio, Golden State, the Raptors, Toronto, to a degree. We should value depth. We should value flexibility. It'll bode well for us in not just long term, in terms of looking at one postseason, but maybe future seasons and future postseasons down the road as well, too.
Absolutely.
I think that's the other thing as well for people to look at. All right, good discussion. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're trying to win you some money. 2 games tonight. I got to do a little bit better than I did last night. We got the Jarod guarantee going on. We'll talk about that. NBA picks when we come back on the NBA Exchange. Are you looking for a better way to play player props or daily fantasy sports? Well, look no further than Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the leading over-under daily fantasy game. Why? Because it's so easy to use and win. You can make your picks in under 30 seconds and win up to 10 times your money in one day. Right now, we have a special offer for our viewers and listeners of the NBA Exchange. All you got to do is sign up now and use the promo code NBAEX. Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Yep, that's right. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So, join the over 150,000 others who found a better way to play and download the Prize Picks app today. All right, guys, welcome back to the NBA Exchange. Picks today should be interesting. Very, very, very interesting. We'll see. We know if Brian Fonseca was here as he did on Monday. We know that he's going to talk about, his Heat winning. You know how he's going to bet. But we'll see if we can try to win y'all some money tonight. 2 games, obviously Sixers, Heat, and then we have Mavericks, Suns. Should be interesting. We will start with the Sixers and the Heat, with the Miami Heat coming off a game on win. They are favored by 8 points in this contest. Nice line there. It pretty much tells you the odds makers think that the Heat should handle their business once again. They do not trust the offense of the Philadelphia 76ers, Jarod, how are you betting this one? This one is your face makes it seem like you're not going with the underdog here. That's maybe what I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going with Philly, but I don't like that line only because Miami looked really bad in that second quarter when Philadelphia went small. And I just, listen, what worries me about Miami still worries me today, which is their half-court offense. Now, with the 76ers' lack of defensive capabilities, especially if they're going to be playing DeAndre Jordan, which Doc Rivers said, and I quote, "We like DJ. We don't care if you don't like him. We're playing him." I was like, okay, well, I mean, listen,
good luck with that.
I was like, DeAndre Jordan ain't really, that ain't it. My God, that ain't hitting like you think. Like, I don't.
Woo.
So, and if they're going to have DJ minutes out there, expect the Heat to roast him in pick and roll and, do their thing. So I'm going to go Miami, even though I don't love that line because I just look, Philly's the kind of team to me that I think that can drop the rope really easily. And yes, Tyrese Maxey's good. Yes, Tobias Harris had a good game 1. I don't expect George Niang to shoot 0 of 9 again or whatever he was. But look, this is about James Harden. And we know, you said it last segment, Dexter, James Harden has not been the same player since he tore his hamstrings last season in the playoffs as a member of the Brooklyn Nets. He has been a shell of himself since then. And, are we sure he's going to have a good game tonight? I think I can't. Even with his poor playoff performance in the past, I would say if this was back in the day, Houston, James Harden, I'm like, nah, Harden will get a good game in. I would bet on that. Now, I got nothing, man. So I'm taking the Miami Heat tonight. If you can find an alternate spread, tease it down a little bit, make yourself a little more safe. Do that. You're on 6, feel a little more comfortable. In terms of single game props, look for Tyler Hero, 2+ threes. Look for Bam Adebayo, 2+ blocks. If on the Philly side, I do think George Niang will hit more than a shot. So if you got a 3, well, at least 1 3 for George Niang, I think he'll make a shot tonight. but yeah, this is just tough sledding for Philly tonight.
I'm with you. Just because of the way Miami looked, I think they'll be better. Jimmy Butler probably won't shoot as bad again in this contest.
Yeah.
I'd have to see that, but I might be inclined to go down a little bit with the spread here. I like any spreads pretty much involving Bam. Bam had a good game, was a 24 point, I think 12 rebound, double in game 1. I think anything you can get with him is really good. I expect him to cook in this series, especially like Jarod said, if they're going to be out here putting DeAndre Jordan. And like, look, Doc, I understand it's your guy. You coach him in the Clippers and all that. I get all that. But we all know what he's been the last 4 years. And the last 2 years, really bad. Hasn't been able to stay on the roster. The only reason he's on this roster is because you guys lost a really good backup in RJ Drummond in trading him to the Nets. DeAndre Jordan is not going to have any answers for Bam Adebayo. This is making Brian smile somewhere.
But Dex, you know what else is here? This is also Doc being Doc and defiant. Like, you think Doc enjoys being asked basketball questions about coaching maneuvers by these dudes in the media? Like, you don't know what he's talking about. And a guy like Doc, who, listen, he hasn't been great lately, but throughout his career has been a good coach. He's won a championship. Yeah. When you've already accomplished that much in your career, you're just going to double down in your position. So Doc is double. You're not going to budge him off this. And it's unfortunate.
I'm not even mad at him for that, really. And I actually wasn't mad when he defended himself. What was it, last week, for when people came at his playoff coaching record and blowing 3-1 leads. I actually wasn't even mad at that. I was glad he defended. If you're not going to defend yourself, who else is?
There you go.
But I also understand and realize that he's not going to throw DeAndre Jordan under the bus. I think deep down inside, you give Doc Rivers a truth serum. You don't want to play DeAndre Jordan. He knows this, right? So it's more about, like, it's funny, you asking him the question about playing DeAndre Jordan. It's like, what else is he going to do? He's got to play him. He's got to play Paul Reed. He's got to do that. No shade to those guys. But
go small, like in the second quarter, because that was their best quarter when they went small. Now, can you keep that up for 48 minutes?
I don't know, but it gives you a better shot, in my opinion. And so we'll see. But because of that, because we're going to get DJ minutes out there, please take any Bam props you can get. Double for Bam if you can. It's a nice one. I like Jarod's one about 2+ blocks. I wish I did that with Triple J last night. I did not. I think those are really good. I also like Tyler Hero to come out good in this game. He should be a little bit more pumped up. Just won 6th Man of the Year award. See if he wants to come up in front of the crowd in South Beach and do his thing. I can see that. But give me the Heat here. I see the Sixers down 2-0, going back to Philly. I'm headed to Philly tomorrow, and I feel like when I see some friends down there, they're not going to be too thrilled about it.
You going for game 3? You're going to be there for 6?
No. I'm actually going for Mets-Phillies
okay.
game tomorrow night. I'll be down there at Citizens Bank Park to check that out. See some of my homies from Pitt that live in Philly, so we're going to see that. But they are big Sixers fans, and I don't think they're going to be too thrilled about what they've seen with James Harden. And to that point, I'm with you. And Coach Thorpe said this. I've been working on some videos with Coach Thorpe for True Hoop in the Coach Speak series, and Coach Thorpe had a really good video he did last week saying that, look, James Harden can still put on the performance that we saw in Game 6 against the Raptors from time to time. But can you get that out of him every time, as Jarod said? And in order for the Sixers to win, this is even with Joel Embiid, and I agree with Coach Thorpe on this, you're going to have to get this out of him 5 out of 7 games in a series. That's what it's going to take. And if you've been watching all year, and our man Jamal Murphy has been saying this all year, he's looked terrible. He has not looked good. He's looked like he's lost a step, and now he can't get it done in the playoffs. And this is a question for another day, and I'm sure Jarod and I will get into this with some nuance. Darryl Moore, you got some decisions to make. Are you going to use your head or your heart? Is love going to truly be blind, or is it not? We are going to see, because that extension or giving some more money. Woo! I don't know about that. Yikes! All right, second game of the night: Dallas Mavericks. They're down 1-0 to the Phoenix Suns. Suns 6.5-point favorites in this one. Jarod, is there any reason I should pick Dallas and take that plus 6.5? Dallas in the points.
I think Dallas has a chance to keep it a little close. I still think Phoenix wins the game and goes up 2-0. Phoenix has too many ways to beat you offensively, and Dallas doesn't. Right? Like, Dallas is either Luka's going to get into the teeth of the defense and guys are going to hit shots, or Luka's just going to do like this thing, right? Whereas Phoenix has a lot more variety to their offense, a lot more optionality than the Mavericks do. And I also like, as good as the Dallas Mavericks defense is, and they clamped up and played a little bit better towards the end of that game, actually second half and towards the end of that game. Again, I like Phoenix's versatility on defense better. The regular season track record has to matter. Phoenix is number 3 in adjusted offensive rating, number 3 in adjusted defensive rating all season long. They're a machine. They know how to execute down the stretch. And again, I think that that New Orleans Pelicans series kind of sharpened them a bit, got them ready for this challenge they're facing in the Dallas Mavericks. I think they go up 2-0. If you want to stay away from the point spread, I'm with you there. Look for Devin Booker. I think they have a better game tonight. I think he shoots a little bit better. So anything with Devin Booker 25 plus, I'm looking there. Luka Doncic is always on triple-double watch, so be mindful of that. Chris Paul, 10 plus assists. So look at Chris Paul, 20 plus points. I can turn him into a scorer. And then on the other side, Maxi Kleber had a lot of threes last night. Can he keep that up?
Yeah.
Look for anything with him hitting threes. And Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yeah, I'll look out for those. I'm with you here too. I think the Suns go up 2-0. Now, what's interesting to me is does Phoenix really keep the same defensive strategy that they had for most of this game, right? Phoenix is so good. They did an excellent job to me in game one. And honestly, throughout the season, we've seen this the past 2 postseasons. They're so good at staying at home on the shooters, particularly on a team like Dallas, where their offense is one guy. And Dallas can't win. Now, I do think Jalen Brunson plays a little better in this game. So look for some props on him, depending on how high the point is. If you get something around 17, 18, maybe him going over, I like that there. Keep an eye on that. But look, if the Suns stick to the strategy where they're like, we'll let Doncic cook, but we ain't going to let these other guys do anything, then I think that's advantage Suns. That also helps them close the games out. Luka's going to get his points. He's got to. And they're going to run a lot of high pick and rolls. They're going to run a lot of Spain pick and roll action. You see them do that. But this, I don't know if that's a recipe for success for them to win. Now, I do think Luka's good enough to get him a win in one of these games, maybe 2 of these games, because he's that good. But that's also going to mean other guys are going to have to step up, like Dinwiddie, like Brunson. We're going to have to see that. But at home, I think the Suns are just too tough. I'm fine with this spread. It's a point higher than it was the other night. For game one, we saw Dallas's defense look better down the stretch. But this is me. This is you saying, do I believe in the Suns defense, or am I banking on Dallas's role players to play a lot better? I think they'll play better, but not a lot better enough to get it done on the road. I might even bump this down a couple of points if I really thought about it, maybe get a -4.5 here. Because I do think Dallas is going to fight. I just want to be clear on that. I do think Dallas is going to fight here. They're not going to roll over, and Luka will not allow it. And I did like some of the things I saw from them at the end. But ultimately, you got to give me the Suns here to win. But I like player props involving Luka. One underrated, I think, aspect of a prop with Luka that people should watch out for, particularly because they've been going a little bit smaller, is look at Luka in terms of rebounds, even 10-plus rebounds. He's been grabbing those the last couple of games going back to the Utah series. That's a series that even has Rudy Gobert on the floor, and he's been grabbing boards. He's their best rebounder. So that might be a nice way to grab some dollars there. Look at Luka, anything over 9-10 boards might be a good one there. But give me the Suns there to go. So it looks like we're going with the favorites tonight.
Yeah, man. Chalk.
Suns. Heat and Suns. I think take this, and we will see. We will also see if these are teams you can watch, at least the Suns and the Heat, where there's versatility in their depth. There's versatility in the coaching among that playoff rotation. You'll definitely see that there. Well, that does it for this edition of the NBA Exchange. Wednesday, we'll be back on Friday. I'll be in a good mood, too, after we get back from Philly. Hopefully, if the Mets do what they're supposed to do down there.
Mets playing well. 18 wins. Tied for the most in baseball with the Yankees. So that's interesting, too. As we said at the top of the show, Liverpool is in the Champions League final. End of the month, we'll be going to Paris, and we'll be celebrating after we beat one of these other teams. There, we'll be doing that, and hopefully you wrap up the EPL. Your man Mo Salah said he wants Real Madrid in the Champions League final.
Look. We're like the Grizzlies. We going up the chimney.
We ain't ducking no smoke.
All the smoke. We ain't ducking no smoke. We ain't ducking nobody. Man City, Real Madrid, whoever you bring on, we're here for you. You know what I'm saying? If only Jarod, other teams that I happen to root for could bring me this much joy.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Just even for a small period of time.
I mean,
just
say it ain't gonna be the Knicks. I'll tell you that. It ain't gonna be them.
Look, I already got off that Jets narcotic, so
you might have to get off that Knicks narcotic too, man.
I might. Listen, I'm just saying. I've seen the benefit into your aunt. I've seen the benefit in how changing teams sometimes can be better for your life and your health
and your overall health. You just feel better.
Yeah, man. We want to feel good here on the NBA Exchange. We definitely want that. He's Jarod Hector. I'm Dexter Henry. Until next time, y'all. Peace.